Now I know I don't have enough projects going on at one time. So this is well, it started out as I think it's an 83, 4, 5, 6, 80s Kawasaki kz440. Now, we've already kind of started on it. This front suspension, rear swing arm are off of a like 750 Ninja, mid 90s 750 Ninja. Or no, Kawasaki. It says Kawasaki right here in the wheel. So these are off of a Kawasaki. I don't even know what Kawasaki's bikes are. Are those a Ninja? Yeah, like a 750 Ninja, something like that. As you can see, it's kind of going to be I don't know what you'd even call it, cafe bike, I guess. And it's going to be pretty interesting, I think. So got it converted over to a monoshock. Obviously chopped the back half to it here, and this is going to have just a thin bobber style seat, stock gas tank. And yeah, that's pretty much it as far as suspension goes. The swing arm is just kind of sitting in here loose. It needs a couple spacers in here because the factory bolt that goes through here is about yay big, and the factory bolt here is about yay big. So that needs to be done. I'm gonna have to figure out, as you can see, this sprocket is, I don't know, an inch further out. So I don't know if this hub can be machined or if that sprocket the inner sprocket, the drive sprocket, can be moved out. That's all things that need to be kind of figured out. But I have some pretty cool stuff going on with this bike. This is factory 440 2-cylinder engine that is going to be fuel injected and turbocharged. That is my goal, hope for this engine. I've got, well, I'll get you set up on a tripod here and we'll show you what I got going on. Never mind, tripod is in my truck, which is not here. So, for fuel injection, I've got a Speedwino. This is kind of a cool open source aftermarket ECU where you buy this board pre-assembled. This is a Mega 2560 Speedwino board. And then you also buy, there's all kinds of different boards that you can buy. And depending on your needs, you can, kind of tailor it to what you need. This is I forget what it's called, NO2C, NOC2, something like that. And this is perfect for small engines, stuff like that, where you don't need, 8 injector drivers and 8 coil drivers. This has got 2 injector drivers, 2 coil drivers, built-in map sensor, all kinds of cool stuff you can do with them. You can do flex fuel and all. This thing will have, hopefully, my plans are, this will be a fuel injected, flex fuel, E85, sequential injected, so it'll have a cam crank sensor, turboed, basically modernized old carbureted engine. So that'll be kind of cool. I think a lot of tinkering is going to be involved. But yeah, so basically this board comes blank with all these pieces, and you solder the board together and clip it on, and then there's some software you download on your laptop and you can tune. This is a fuel pump assembly and regulator all in one out of I think it was like a Honda Rancher, like a 750 four-wheeler Honda Rancher, that I think is going to be pretty cool. It'll kind of end up being sort of like a dry or a surge tank setup, and I think that's going to work well, hopefully. I guess we'll find out. This is all kind of experimental, so we've got that so far. Kind of the cool deal here, these are throttle bodies off of a like 2015 Yamaha R3. And the reason I got these is these are the same size as the boots on the engine. Only issue is they are too narrow. So what's going to have to end up happening is, this is a idle air control, which is fine. I don't plan on using idle air control drivers and all that. I'll probably just, you know, use the set screw and just kind of crack her open. But what's nice about this is it's got throttle position sensor and fuel injectors, and you know, the majority of the stuff needed to, it's got the majority of the stuff needed to make a fuel injected engine run. I have on order a couple of Hall effect sensors, so that way we can make a crank and cam trigger. And yeah, I think at this point what I'm going to do first is we'll get, this is the old ignition pickup. You know, it's got the advanced mechanism, all that good stuff. I'm going to get all this pulled out of here because this is where I want to get my crank trigger from. I'm going to try and get I want to try and use a sprocket, I think that's going to work. We'll use a sprocket and then get a Hall effect sensor, and that should hopefully give me the Arduino needs a 5-volt square, you know, digital signal in for crank and cam, unless you want to use they make a VR conditioner basically. So you could, I mean, technically I could take this, you know, magnetic pickup, whatever you want to call it, and just put in, you know, a sprocket or something on there to where it gives me more pulses. But I kind of want to, I've never really messed with Hall effect sensors, and I mean, if we're going to do ridiculous things, we may as well go all out on it, right? Now, as far as a cam sensor goes, I was doing some research on you know, people that have converted carbureted bikes to EFI. And I saw one guy going, they made a little bung kind of thing off of here, and the cam I believe only needs one pulse and it'll be satiated. The other thing I was maybe thinking of was pulling this, where I think the timing chain comes up through the middle here, so do something in there, but I don't know. We'll cross that bridge when we get to it. Anyway, for right now, I'm going to pull this stuff off of here and get this shaft measured so I can find a sprocket or something that'll fit that. And then we'll start messing with some throttle bodies, get those throttle bodies fit up, and then maybe start playing with that ECU a little. Man, it is hot as balls out here. Anyway, so I've got, this is the old advanced mechanism for the original pickup, and I've got that pulled off the engine here. It's got a nice can, or doweled, whatever you want to call it, and I think that's going to work nice. We'll get a sprocket or whatever I can find that will work as a tone wheel, and the bug on my camera, and set up a trigger in here with a Hall effect sensor. Get out of here. And that should work nicely. God, this like bee thing, I don't, get out of here. So I kind of moved on from that a little bit and started working on these throttle bodies, as you saw. These are going to fit in here nice. I believe. A little bit of stretching, but they will fit. And went ahead, this in the middle here was a idle air control, and I'm not really looking to go through all the trouble of setting up the stepper motor for all that. So what I'm just going to do is we'll use the idle screw and open her up that way, and I'll have to figure out some way to, this is the throttle shaft that goes in between the two throttle bodies. I'm gonna have to cut this and extend it somehow. Don't know quite how I'm gonna do that yet, but we'll get that done. That'll be an adventure. Also gonna have to take the fuel rail and widen that out, you know, however much, an inch or whatever it is. So yeah, I'll get these throttle bodies shoved in the boots and see how much further that throttle shaft, how much wider that throttle shaft needs to be, and we'll go from there. I've got throttle bodies installed for the most part. See if you can get in here and see what we got here. So basically just chop these right in two. This is where the old idle control was. The throttle shaft went through here. I just cut that in half, drilled and tapped it for this M10 or M8. I think it's an 8 bolt that I just chopped the head off and was able to thread into, you know, the right gap, and then stuck some lock nuts on it. So now that, here we go. Oh, you know, it's gonna work, I think. And we'll just use a screw here for idle screw, just open these babies up a little. This fuel rail, I was hoping to be able to make something work with it, but I don't think it's gonna happen. If I believe they make like a universal kind of fuel rail type affair, but yeah, I guess we'll see what we can come up with there. That's not really huge on my priority list at the moment. I'll order some stuff, take a look at eBay, see what we can figure out. So at this point, I'd kind of like to try to rig up some wires and maybe get the throttle position. And I believe this is throttle position and intake temp. I want to try and get those tossed in the Arduino or Speedwino, whatever you want to call it, and see if that's going to work, if it reads anything, or if I've completely destroyed it trying to solder all that stuff together.